We're joined by Sanjna from Salesforce and Bryan from BCG. Welcome both. Sanjna, when it comes to AI, there is so much excitement about, but also an awful lot of noise. For you, what are the most important shifts that you're seeing right now in the way that brands engage with customers across the funnel?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of hype with any new technology. Everyone wants to say they're doing AI or they're involved. But I think that the brands that are really standing out to me are the ones that are really embedding the value of AI in their business. And it's embedded in their day-to-day. And they're going from experimentation to actual value and outcomes. And so, and in order to do that, you have to be really hands-on with the technology. You have to use it yourself. You have to understand what the newest stuff is, and it makes a difference in the leadership that you see.
And Bryan, if you're trying to build really strong customer relations, how do you deliver that sort of connected experience at scale?
Well, I think when you look at B2B versus B2C, I think there's two very different approaches that we're seeing in the market. We're starting to see from a B2C perspective, marketing is taking much more of a lead role in being the connective tissue across top of the funnel and demand signals and interest all the way through to what's not going well as that data filters into a lot of the AI, but also the support organizations that frankly pick up the phone or nowadays the chat that help customers. On the B2B side, it's different. I think the thinking has to be more nuanced to how you cover your customers. And so we're seeing that really from an operating model, from a talent perspective, and then from a data perspective. So think of the signals of how Salesforce does it, right? They look at every customer uniquely and individually, but they also have a very distinct way in which they connect their overall leadership into the discussion with the customer throughout the year. And they also ensure that the talent that covers and talks to the customer are informed with the right amount of data that drives the right type of discussion. And I think those are two very fundamental different things that also are providing us a view into who's using AI in a more scaled way versus who's still in the pilot and figure it out way.
So talking of that, with AI, we know that experimentation is obviously hugely important, but how do companies scale from experimentation into business-wide transformation?
Getting really clear on the workflow that you want to transform. And from a marketing context, it could be you want to change the way that you create content more dynamically. It could be, for my team, I come from more of a product marketing background. I'm obsessed with making sure that our website is communicating the right value and that the quality of the leads that we're bringing into our sales teams is very high. I think it's staying really centered on the workflow that you want to transform, getting really good at that, of going from idea to execution, and then it becomes a business-wide transformation, right? When you can really understand how to take the technology, make it transformational, and then do that for all the use cases that you can dream of.
Bryan, what are your tips?
I love that. Jessica earlier this week said it's really about back to the basics as a big narrative we're hearing. And for us, that means, I think, three pillars. One is the BCG standard of 10-20-70. And it's really around the 70 being the people and process. And I think Salesforce did a great job with how they introduced Slack AI to engender trust and frankly, utilization. I think the 20 and 10 are the capabilities and the 10 is the data. I do believe that data is the second point. And people always look at data as a perfect versus progress. And so I always say progress over perfection. And as organizations look at this, they can identify pockets of data, figure out how to get that right, and then get to the next pocket, because data equals trust for end users when it comes to AI. Because when we look at organizations, things like automation have been in place for 10, 15, 20 years, and AI is beyond automation. And so I think as you stitch these concepts together, people are going to start to go back to the data piece to really get to scale. I think the last one is, I think where a lot of people are getting stuck, and I like what Salesforce is doing in the market, because they're looking at the problem of what agent to use, right? It's really easy to create an agent. It's really hard to create a really good agent. Is that investigating partnerships with OpenAI, Google, Amazon are helpful, because you look at things like A2A and Claude 3 as integral partnerships for you scaling. It starts to remove the challenge of, well, which one do I use? And the answer is you can use more than one. So I think those are decisions, and progress that we can make over the next year that'll start to go from project to scale and unlock true enterprise value.
I mean, one thing that what you were saying reminded me of is earlier today, I was having a conversation with some CMOs, and we were talking about, well, in a year from now, what do we hope to be talking about in Cannes, right? And I said, I hope that the session titles don't have AI in them. I hope that it's about the outcomes and the workflows that have been transformed and the data that we've unlocked, because that's really what we're talking about here. It's like, what's the value we're driving? Like, that's what I hope we get to.
Well, Sanjna, Bryan, thanks so much for joining us here today in Cannes. It's been a real pleasure.
Thanks for having us.